Hey, what's up, pro wrestling fans? Welcome to Nation's Corner. I am Front Row. Alongside me, as always, Debhausen, the great and powerful, and the greatest truck driver of all time, Tony Justice. What's up, people?
What is up?
How you doing, man?
Man, slow week in the world of wrestling. Not much to talk
Yes.
about.
I know, man. I've never
Nothing
seen a more
happened.
boring week than this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll just talk about other sports. No, just kidding.
No, let's not.
So before we dive into all that other stuff, like what happened in your weeks this week, Deb?
Well, I finished my job in hell, and I have a week and a half off, and then I start a new job. So things are looking up.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I just did my normal, duty, delivering justice all around the country,
Yeah,
That's
you
all I
did.
do. Driving. I drove all day today. I drove from Kentucky this morning and ended up in Arkansas. Parked a little early today so I can get in here and prep for the show and all that. But got to deliver in San Antonio on Monday, so got good time. So doing all right.
Nice. Yeah, I've been preparing. Where I work, I've been at home for 2 years because of the pandemic, and this will be my last week working from home. We're going back into the office the following week. Not looking forward to sitting in traffic and going back and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
they're paying me, so I got to go. But,
Darn.
Yeah,
So-
my new job is I go from a 10-minute drive to probably a 45-minute drive in traffic
no.
through Allentown. Yeah.
Oh. Man, I've
Yeah.
driven through Allentown many times. It's rough through there,
Mm-hmm.
especially by the mall.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into it. There's a ton of stuff to cover, but of course, more than likely, everyone's talking about the big story this week. We woke up, what was it, Tuesday, I think, to the news that Cody Rhodes and Brandi Rhodes had left AEW, and this was like one of those foundational, shocking things. I don't think a lot of people, I don't think anybody really saw this coming. Both of them being cornerstones and foundational members of AEW from the very beginning. So, what were your thoughts when you first saw either Cody's or AEW's post, whichever one you saw first?
Well, I heard it first on Busted Open. I was at work, so I wasn't like just on social media. I was listening to Busted Open, and they said it as soon as the news broke. And then I went to my phone, immediately went through Twitter, and just everything was blowing up. So yeah, quite shocking. I'm still not quite sure what to think about it. So I'm reserving judgment on conspiracy theories and stuff because I don't know.
Yeah. I was listening to Busted Open as well, driving down the road and heard it. And I immediately thought, Bully had said it on the show about cracks in the wall. He made that comment, cracks in the wall. And I had already been thinking that, but I also thought more than that. That's not just a crack in the wall. That's a pillar completely fallen, that holds the building up. That's one pillar just completely fallen. So
yeah,
I'm interested to see what where he and Brandi will end up. There's a lot of people saying WWE. A lot of people throwing out different things, but we'll see. He'll come back when he's ready to come back, and we know that he's a new father and they've got a new family. They're trying to be there for their daughter, So what if that's what they want to do for a couple of years, Be there for their daughters growing up,
Yeah.
But whatever the case is, we'll see.
My personal feelings is just that's the most likely explanation. I don't know if you've heard like the term zebra in the medical field. Is that when you hear hoofs, you think horse, not zebra. Like you think of the most plausible explanation, the most common explanation. Don't immediately go to what's not as likely. And I think the most likely explanation is that they're just going to take time off to be with their baby. Cody has more seasons of the Go Big show coming up. And maybe he's, going to try to get into acting a little bit more. Who knows? But I think that's the most likely reason why he left.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we don't really know why he left or what the conversations were behind the scenes. I was surprised on a number of levels because he was such a proponent of everything that they were doing there. A big part of the team mentality, leading the Nightmare Factory, and Brandi being their chief brand officer. These aren't people who just left wrestling. Like, they didn't just leave as wrestlers. They were people in corporate leadership roles. So
Right.
they didn't just step away from the TV, from our screens. They stepped away from the business itself, the business of AEW. So that
Right.
leaves two holes for each person, because they were performing multiple tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what they're going to do. Obviously, finding another chief brand officer is fairly straightforward if you're looking for someone in a corporate leadership role. But like Cody was a big part of what happened behind the scenes. We've seen interviews with people who have said he really fought for the wrestlers. Like, he was on the side of the locker room and, helped to get a lot of stuff through. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I have to think that it must have been pretty serious for him to leave. Either AEW wasn't willing to meet his, I say his, it's there, but they're two
Yeah.
separate people, right? So either they weren't willing to pay the price that was the asking price, or they weren't willing to give the freedoms that they were asking for from a character and logistical standpoint. I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think Brandi has gotten kind of lost in the conversation a little bit because yes, Cody is more in the spotlight, but where does that leave Brandi? It seemed like she was really gung ho to come back and get in shape after she had the baby, to be in ring shape, and now she's leaving. So, I'm not sure where the goal was there.
Yeah, and I just want to shout out Chris in the chat. She asks, what are the actual duties of a chief brand officer? So typically, a chief brand officer is responsible for marketing. They're responsible for optics, social media, all that stuff that's public facing, everything that the company presents to the public. The chief brand officer is ultimately in charge of. So, like, you'll see Stephanie McMahon do TED Talks and leadership conversations. A lot of the stuff that she does, Stephanie is a chief brand officer. So if you see her out in the public and in board meetings for other companies, she's representing the company, not as a chief operating officer who is actually at the top, but the brand officer is really responsible for the public perception and the customer communication. So it's a whole bunch of stuff that falls under a chief brand officer. So if you think about it, it's the person that's in charge of the brand of AEW.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's typically what the role is. I don't know if that's what she was doing behind the scenes, but that was her title.
Okay.
All right.
I see Brian Rosa. I see Jeremiah Wilkerson in the chat, and I know that they're out. I see they're out there in Conroe putting flyers out for the Mission Pro show. We're going to hit on that in a little bit. You guys stay safe out there in the crazy streets of Conroe.
Yeah. The mean streets of Conroe, Texas, brother.
Yes.
And yes, I agree. Monkeys versus donkeys. I go with the donkey every time.
I don't know. Monkeys are vicious.
They could be. Slow and steady, though. They're easily distracted.
Yeah.
Monkeys are easily distracted, so. But as far as what they're going to do next, I mean, that's a whole interesting conversation, because let's just say, for the sake of argument, that the rumors are true and there's a WWE conversation happening. I don't know. But, like, if it's happening, I start to think about, well, what are you going to use? Where are you going to use both of them, right? Cody is a top star in AEW, or was a top star in AEW. But you transplant that, even if he takes his music, his American Nightmare character, like all of that stuff, is he on Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar's level?
No, not in that company.
So what did they do with him?
That's what I've been saying. I just don't see it. There's all these conspiracy theories going around and rumors that he's going to AEW or he's going to WWE, and I don't see it. I just don't see where he could possibly fit in. I don't see why he would go back there. I just don't get it whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And I've also been hearing the Ring of Honor talk about Cody possibly buying the Ring of Honor and starting it up, which I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind if that happened. I wouldn't mind that at all. That's just more, another avenue for us to have our eyes on, kind of bring another company into the fold on choices for people to go work,
Yeah.
Of course, it's, as a wrestling fan, that's just more opportunity for us, because it's a win-win for us. So, but,
Yeah.
there's a lot of possibilities, and I've heard that he's possibly going to go into acting. But we'll just see what the future brings. That's all we can do.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think going to Ring of Honor, or helping to start back up Ring of Honor would probably be good, because that's an already established brand. It's an established company. It's not like he would be starting something from fresh again. So I think that would be a good fit if that's the direction they decide to go.
Yeah, and I do agree with Chris, and I think this is something that we talked about during the week. The wrestling market is sort of saturated. I think it is. I mean, not everybody feels that way, but for me, my time is limited, so I'm only going to watch so many shows per week. I've already cut like NXT out and a few other shows because I just don't have the bandwidth. So but to the other side of that point, when GCW came along, they were so good and so hot and so exciting. You make room for them because
Yeah.
they're really drawing an audience, right? So if Cody were to buy Ring of Honor or run Ring of Honor, whatever that looks like, and he were able to build an exciting product that people, had to watch, build a strong women's division, build a strong tag team division. Now you've got something. You've got equity in a brand like Ring of Honor that already has meaning for the wrestling fan. Like they're going to automatically give it a chance because just on name value.
Mm-hmm.
You're already 50% of the way there of getting customers, getting viewers, right?
Yeah.
The big deal is going to be whether they get TV. They're going to have to
That's
work.
another thing.
That's been my problem with Ring of Honor all along. We go to the shows here. They're a lot of fun. But I don't watch their regular shows because I don't know where to find them. They're on this channel. They moved to somewhere else. Now they're on Twitch. Now they're on something else. I'm like, I can't keep up.
Yeah, and that's another thing. If this does happen, how do they expand their viewership beyond the regular ROH diehards? They would have to get a set TV deal.
Yeah. I mean, wherever, if anybody wants any kind of exposure whatsoever, they've got to have TV, You can't just expect to go on, a channel that hardly anybody gets in their cable package,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's got to be a well-known channel that everybody gets, a popular channel. And
Yeah.
I've caught myself thinking about this too, where would someone like Ring of Honor go if they were to get a TV deal? I mean, you have Impact on Access and in Twitch,
Mm-hmm.
and I've heard people talk about how they can see a wrestling program on a Netflix type app or something like that, but I don't know how that would work because,
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Netflix
talking
has
about
never done live shows before.
no, and you're taking a dynamic that's been, since my whole childhood, basically, of things on television, and then
Mm-hmm.
slowly but surely things are getting taken off of TV and being put on your devices where you can go anywhere with it. And I know the rating system has improved where it takes into consideration that type of streaming and all that stuff, but I just don't know if I'm ready to see wrestling uh, on an app, like Twitch. I have a problem with the Twitch, of watching something every week and trying to keep up with it. It's almost like you've got to make a a schedule out and write it out like an itinerary.
Yeah.
What to watch? Where is this on what days? And you get lost
Uh-huh.
in it real quick. So
Yeah. I used to do that actually. With all the TV shows that I watched, I used to write down a list of schedule day to day of what shows were on what day, what channel.
right.
Well, and I think it's cool too because I know what you're talking about as far as an app goes, but like Fight has done a very, very good job of presenting wrestling in a way that's very easy to watch. You pull up
Mhm.
your Roku, your Fire Stick, whatever, boom, it's right there. You go on your iPad, you buy something, and it's so easy to use Fight TV. And
Yeah.
it's technically like a service. It's a streaming service. It's not a television. It's not a traditional television channel.
Yeah.
But I view it that way because, like, I watch NWA on Fight. Like, I just go on, and whenever I want to watch it, it's on there. It's easy to find. Ring of
Mhm.
Honor was on there for a little while too, but it was sketchy. It was like not live. It was, hit or miss.
Yeah.
So, like I know that every month when I want to watch Mission Pro, I just pull up Title Match Network, and there it is.
Yep.
But Ring of Honor was all over the place. It was so hard to find. And then like Impact does this too, where if they have like 3 different methods of finding Impact, and
Mhm.
one of them is free on YouTube, but then they pepper in old matches and it's not live, it's on delay. And
it's a lot.
yeah, if I have to jump through hoops to watch your product, then I'm really not interested.
Right.
Yeah. I will tend to agree with that. I just want to flip on the channel at a certain time and there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I will say too, and Mrs. Front Row points out that we've been to a ton of Ring of Honor shows, and they're a lot of fun, but more often than not, the women's matches were not good. They didn't have, some of the top talent there that we're seeing in other promotions right now. Towards the
Mhm.
end of Ring of Honor's run this last year, they had the women's tournament, and they did have a lot of good talent, but they weren't touring. We didn't see them live. And, Maria Kanellis was running that tournament. And they did have, Roxy and some of the Mission Pro women with their Holiday was there.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting. So I'll be interested to see when Ring of Honor comes back, whether it's with Cody Rhodes at the helm or
Mhm.
whoever, next in April when they return, what they're going to do. We
Yeah.
hear that Ring of Honor Women's Champion Roxy, according to what we're reading, may have signed a contract or was offered a contract with WWE. So I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a vacant title when they return or, who they're going to hire back. But anyway, as far as
Right.
Cody Rhodes, I think it's going to be pretty exciting to see what he does next.
Yeah. Mongrovian does point out in the YouTube chat that if you're a member of Honor Club, you do get everything. However, that's just another subscription then.
Yeah, it's pretty affordable though. I think it's only
Yeah.
like $50 or $60 a year, something like that. It's not terribly expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's very reasonable, but still, it's just another subscription.
Well, and that's the problem too. If you already have YouTube TV or cable or whatever, I can watch
Mhm.
Raw and SmackDown and Dynamite and Rampage and all that stuff. I don't have to pay
Yeah.
extra to watch those shows.
Right.
I don't want
Right.
to pay every time I turn on another show. I don't want to have to, pad a pocket. So
Right, exactly.
it does
Shout
add up.
out to our friend connecting people through wrestling. I see in the live chat. What's going on, brother?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Man,
Nice.
yeah, we had a chance to hang out in St. Louis. We've hung out a bunch of times at different events. Good people over there.
We actually got to meet Chris at someplace in Baltimore. She went to go get breakfast or something, and there he was, and they ran into each other just like out of the blue. It was freaking awesome. That dude's everywhere.
Yes. Yes, he is.
Oh yeah, so actually, I stand corrected. Deanna Purrazzo has the Ring of Honor Women's Champion. It had championship. That's right.
Oh, yes.
Man, I just got to get caught up on a lot of this stuff. There's so much stuff going on right now, and I do want to mention that we talked about Impact the other night in our group. They have a lot of cool stuff going on, and I might have to start making time to watch some of it because the women's division's on fire. Some of the men that are over there are doing big things. And Matt Cardona, is everywhere, you know, and he is the new
Yes.
NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, defeating Trevor Murdoch last week at that Power Trip event. Which, can we talk about, like, why is there a title switch on a non-televised event? But I don't want to be critical, but like, it was all over Twitter and nobody saw it except for the couple, you know, the handful of people that were there live.
I
And then
only knew because Cardona posted it on Twitter.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting, like, I didn't even know there was a show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Deb, you're more of a Cardona fan than the rest of us, right?
Yes, I would assume.
What do you think he brings to a company like NWA as a champion?
Eyeballs, which is very much needed for NWA right now. Exposure, excitement. He has a massive fan base. He has his podcast group with Brian Myers. They run like 10 different podcasts at this point or something like that. Yeah, he brings a level of exposure to NWA that they haven't really had so far. Because he's such a big mainstream name. You know, he spent time in WWE. He's been everywhere recently, so there's a lot of people who are just going to tune in just to see what he does next.
Yeah. I mean, not only WWE, but he had that little stint in AEW, and it's been an Impact, GCW. I mean, the dude is everywhere. And when we saw him walk out NWA when we were there in Atlanta, I mean, I just knew, I was like, wow, he's here too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to see what happens now. I mean, his interview he gave on Busted Open before he won the championship, I mean, he dropped a lot of truth bombs. You know, agree or disagree, you know, the guy has a good vision for what he thinks
Mm-hmm.
should happen. And now that he's the champion, well, it's up to him. The ball's in his court now. So let's see what happens now.
Yeah, I think he definitely will bring some life to NWA. I just feel like NWA may have gotten a little stagnant recently. I think sometimes, even though all the matches are great matches and every single wrestler there is very, very talented, I think sometimes they lack like the storyline to go along with the matches. It's just, here, let's throw these two out there and they'll have an amazing match. And I think NWA has kind of kept themselves in this little bubble, and they need to break out of the bubble.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things we talk about a lot on this show, and I've heard, you know, Sam Roberts talk about in his podcast, is the idea of new kayfabe. What the fans perceive to be reality is not really reality, but is a layer between TV and actual real life.
Yeah.
So when Matt Cardona goes on Busted Open and he says, you know, Trevor Murdoch, I have a lot of respect for the guy, but he doesn't represent the brand. It's in his gym bag. He never defends it against anybody important. And hey, the guy only has 9,000 followers and he's never on social media. Mm-hmm. It's 2022. If you're going to be representing a brand, you've got to be out there representing it 24/7 to the biggest audience possible.
Yeah.
And he was right. And, you know, people say, well, that's a heel promo. Well, it really isn't. Like, he's just telling the truth based on his personal experience. As someone who conquered the internet at a very, you know, early stage when the internet wasn't really a tool that wrestlers used.
Yeah.
He knows what the hell he's talking about. So when I see him, when I see him calling in from Paris, from Disney World Paris or Disneyland Paris, with the NWA title, posting videos, posting pictures, talking on Busted Open, not only does he have a lot of followers, but he's actively and aggressively promoting the brand.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
You know, and he joked on social media about changing the belt and stuff, but he said on Busted Open, hey, look, I'm just joking around. Like, I really respect this title and the 73 years of history that it represents and all of the great champions that have held it. So I respect him. even if he's, a bad guy on TV or whatever, like I respect what he's done, and whatever they're paying him, it's probably not enough for what he brings to the table.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah, and he's a bit of a wrestling historian, so I definitely would see that he has the respect for that title, for that name. And he knows how to handle it, I think. He knows how to hold up a championship and be confident with it.
Now, the problem is, and this is a good point, Mrs. Front Row says, who besides Nick can stand in the ring with him? Nick is fighting, excuse me, Matt Cardona is defending his title against Nick Aldis at the Crockett Cup in March. If Nick Aldis wins that title back already, then I feel like that's not long enough for Cardona to hold the title to really be effective at elevating the brand. It's a quick hit.
Yeah.
But then that begs the question, like, you have to bring someone in from the outside, because I can't think of any homegrown talents except for maybe a Tom Latimer, but he hasn't been built up to be a contender for the title either.
Yeah.
You're now looking at someone from the outside, which brings us back to our earlier conversation. What if Cody Rhodes comes in and challenges Cardona for the NWA title? Cody has a ton of history. His family has a ton of history with the NWA.
And him and Cardona have history.
Right.
We know that they're close friends. Cardona introduced Brandi to Cody.
Yeah. Yeah. But if Cody came to NWA, well, Cody has the star power. Definitely has the star power. You think the NWA would be ready for that much star power there at the NWA if Cody was to walk in there?
Well, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but I imagine someone like Cody Rhodes is probably commanding a fairly high price.
Yeah.
And now you add that to the whatever Cardona's getting. Now you've got two very expensive people on your show that may or may not be of value. You have to, we don't care, like we're just fans, but Billy Corgan has to look at that and say, okay, these guys cost this much money. Are we going to generate enough revenue on pay-per-view buys to offset that cost and make it worth it? I don't know. We don't know.
And I think that's where they need to expand their live shows, be able to bring in more people, or, if they're going to do the sets of tapings like they've been doing over an extended weekend, put it in a venue that holds more people instead of a little studio that they're saying you can only get 30 people in.
Right. Yeah, it's more about the pay-per-view buys and the subscriptions than it is about the seats. How many tickets you sell.
Yeah, but still, it still speaks to the exposure of it, because if I'm watching a pay-per-view, a wrestling show that has several hundred people is way better than a wrestling show that you only see a couple rows of seats.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. And, we were they were victim of that this last set of tapings. We were, in Atlanta. They had sold out the 250 or 60 people.
Yeah.
We talked about this before. And then the CDC and the Georgia State, commission said that they had to dial it back. So
yeah,
the amount of people that you guys saw on TV were the absolute maximum that they were allowed to have in the room on any one given show. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're watching AEW and there's 15,000 people screaming,
yeah,
what show are you going to go see? Right.
Right. Exactly.
I did see in the chat, where was it here? Yeah. So John says, he's already won the belt. So he did. Cody beat Nick Aldis at All In for the title, and then lost it to Aldis at the NWA 70 show. So they're 1-1, and the story is actually Nick and Cody, not Cody and Matt Cardona. But
right.
So I don't know where they're going to go with that, but down the road, I would come back to that if that's something that they want to do.
Yeah,
Nick. But for now, I would keep building on bringing more stars in. And you've also run out of competitors for Camille. There's not enough women over there to face Camille.
Yeah, and Tony, you've met her. Camille she's a presence.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've had the pleasure of seeing her a few times. couple different conventions, and then of course after the shows in Atlanta, she is definitely a presence, and she carries herself very well. Um, she just commands respect wherever she goes. So yeah, she deserves a contender that can go with her in the ring,
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't see. I mean, you've had, of course, you've had Mickey James come in and out of there. Mickey James currently in Impact. I don't know what the relationship is with NWA, if she's just going to come back and do certain matches or whatever. But yeah, Camille definitely deserves someone that can go with her in the ring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. The Crockett Cup tickets are on sale. I think there's some of the folks from our group that may be going. I'm not really sure. I know our friend Fee's coming over from the UK. She's flying over for the week. I think she's going to be there for like a week or so. So we're still trying to decide if we're going to go or not. It's just going to depend on timing and work and all that stuff. But it's going to be exciting. But so let's circle back. Tony, I know as a Metallica fan, I was excited, and I can only imagine what you were feeling when you saw that video this week.
Oh yeah, chills. Of course, the Undertaker, of course, getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year, and still waiting to find out if he's going to go in solo or he's going to be the head. I know he's going to be the head of the ballot, but I don't know if he's going to go in by himself or they're going to announce more. Personally, I hope he goes in alone because the Undertaker deserves that honor.
Yes.
And me and Deb are going to be there to witness it live. There's going to be a few more of the group. Chris is going. I know Chad's going.
Garza
and Money Mark, Trenda. Yep. So yeah, I mean, we're going to have a group of representation of the Nation's Corner there to witness it live. But talking about the video promo that aired last night on SmackDown. I saw it today during the Elimination Chamber. But that promo was amazing. Of course, the WWE always does a good job with their packages. But them having Sad But True from Metallica, basically the theme music for the whole promo package that they aired, and just basically chronicled all Undertaker's career. Had Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Stone Cold talking about different things about the Undertaker, and then it chronicled from the Undertaker into the American Badass and the music Sad But True, and then it chronicled into American Badass from Kid Rock, and of course it's Metallica's the back music for that too. So the way they did that, and then to end it back with Metallica Sad But True, I mean, of course that would make any Metallica fan smile. I know I was smiling, front row was smiling. I know Steve.
I was popping.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, they did an amazing job, and I cannot wait. I'm just hoping that at WrestleMania, whenever they bring out the inductees of the Hall of Fame at WrestleMania and they have them stand on the stage, well, I'm hoping at WrestleMania that we get one final grand entrance from the Undertaker, and he comes to the ring in full Undertaker character and gets up in the ring and does because now he's actually getting to be in front of a crowd whenever he. So I hope that happens.
Yeah, I do too. I just can't wait to be in the building to see that, because I've said to you guys, I've never been to a WrestleMania. I've never even been to a televised WWE show. I've only been to 2 WWE house shows before here in Allentown, and so this is huge for me, and to be there for the Undertaker being inducted and to be able to see his entrance with the lightning and all the lights and everything, that's just going to be very surreal for me.
Oh yeah.
So I'm only going to have one negative about this, and I'm super excited for you guys. It's awesome, and I think the Undertaker he should go in alone. I think they should take a 90-minute show, and it should be interviews and speeches from different people throughout his career. Mick Foley, Bruce Pritchard, there's a ton of people that you could put on that list, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody else should go in. And I also think if you guys are going to be there live watching SmackDown, the last thing you want to see is 3 hours of 7 other people going into the Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
Right. So what you do is you come out of SmackDown, you have a 5-minute break, let everybody go get their snacks and restrooms and all that stuff, and then you just start with Undertaker speeches, and then you end with the man to give his speech. To me, I would do like 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The only detraction I have from this, and I think Mark talked about this Friday, I think he deserves more than a SmackDown post show. I think he deserves an event. Like, I think a guy with his history and everything that he's contributed,
Mm-hmm.
I just think that it could be a bigger deal, and they're leaving money on the table. Because if you sell
Yeah.
tickets to the Hall of Fame with The Undertaker as a separate event, now that's a whole other pocket of money. But
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Like, they're trying to cram
Yeah.
a lot of stuff in. You've got NXT is now like a matinee on a Saturday.
Yeah.
You've got WrestleMania crammed into 2 nights, and then of course you've got Access and everything on Friday, and then SmackDown and everything on Friday. So I get it. I'm super excited for you guys that you guys get tickets and you're gonna get to be there. I'll be watching on TV. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be really cool. Chad did mention last night that like the possibility that they could just make SmackDown sort of an Undertaker tribute show. Maybe still have some matches, but make it like Undertaker themed or whatever, just so it's not like a regular SmackDown and then this big Undertaker thing. If they make it a whole event like that, make SmackDown just an Undertaker tribute show.
Well,
Yeah, that's interesting.
I see that point, but then you're talking about a SmackDown go home show for WrestleMania. It's kind of a that. What would you
Yeah.
do? I mean, I can see them combining for that week, combining Raw and SmackDown in one night, and have just one big go home show for WrestleMania, and then doing the SmackDown tribute to the Undertaker. I could see that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Just make Raw the go home show.
But if you think about it from that perspective, if they're going to build SmackDown as your go home show, and you have all these mega stars there to celebrate the Undertaker, boy, there's a lot they can do during SmackDown. It doesn't have to be all about Undertaker, but you can have a lot of veteran like mega stars interacting with today's stars throughout the show in a way that's meaningful. There's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we're all excited about that. I did want to mention yesterday, we talked about bandwidth and like what we can watch. GCW announced their they put their tickets on sale for the collective for WrestleMania weekend. And it's insane, man. I'm looking at this lineup. So if you do nothing else that weekend but GCW, it's a whole weekend.
Wow.
And then you add in like, the Busted Open Party and WrestleCon and actually WrestleMania and all the stuff that you guys are going to be doing there. But I'll just real quick run down the lineup. So like if you bought a ticket for the GCW collective, that's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's Glory Pro at 11, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, Joey Janela's Spring Break Part 1, Planet Death, and that's just Thursday. Friday, you've got LA Fights, you've got For the Culture, you've got Gringo Locos, World on Lucha, and Joey Janela Part 2. That's Friday. Saturday is the hot ticket because you've got Effie's Big Gay Brunch at 11, which is we had tickets to that for the 2020 their first 2020 show, and of course COVID ruined that. I do have he did send me a coin though.
Nice.
And then at 3, of course, Mission Pros has their show, Bangers, which is going to be exciting. We'll talk about that. And Unsanctioned Pro and Black Label Pro. So you've got 12 shows for like 200, I think it's 250 or 275 a ticket. But I mean, that's the weekend. And we were looking at the venue last night online, and it's a really cool venue in the middle of a park that has like all kinds of vendors and food trucks and all that good stuff. So for folks that are going to GCW, get your tickets now because I genuinely think they're going to sell out.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. That's a hell of a lineup.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, our weekend is booking up very quickly already.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's cut over to AEW. There's a lot of stuff happening at AEW this week. I know, Tony, you've got a lineup, but I did want to touch first upon, give a shout out to Todd and Guido and their families. They were in attendance this week at Dynamite and for the Rampage taping, and they had a blast. Guido's daughter, shout out to Ruthie. She had her face all painted up like Thunder, and man, it was so cool to see. It was so cool to see that, and then Thunder and Mercedes have this crazy match, just beat the hell out of each other. And what we saw at the end of it was really fascinating because Mercedes refused to attack Thunder with the pipe, and Jamie Hayter then turns on Mercedes. So now what are we going to see? Are they teaming up? Is Mercedes teaming up with Thunder? We saw the advertisement this week for Revolution that Thunder will be challenging Britt Baker for her AEW championship. So I don't know. What do you guys think they're going with us?
Well, and we also have Sensei Kreese in the mix too. Like,
right.
What's happening there?
I popped for that when I saw him.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very interested in this story and where it's going. I think they're doing a good job so far of kind of taking it slow because we don't really know what they're doing next.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a burn. They had that awesome lights out match last year, and then and it's voted PWI's match of the year.
Yes, Thunder won match of the year. Let's not forget that.
And then they didn't revisit it after that, and it's been since then. It's been in the rumblings. We want to see Thunder and Britt. We want to see Thunder and Britt. Thunder and Britt, and they've moved on to other things, whatever. But you still hear people Thunder and Britt, and finally they're visiting it again. And the way they reintroduced it to the fans, I thought was very, very good. Having Mercedes come in as kind of a hitman type, where she was paid to take out Thunder Rosa, and Britt Baker was behind. She's the one who signed the check. So, that was cool. And then now Mercedes and Thunder are, supposedly on the same side again. And now we'll see what happens. But yes, I can't wait to see that match at Revolution. I just wonder if this is finally going to be Thunder's time to take the championship, because we're all waiting for her to have that championship.
Yeah. Yes, she has earned that championship.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. Okay, I'll say this too. Britt Baker's out here every week telling everyone she's the face of women's wrestling. Okay, where else does she wrestle? How often does she defend her title? Where's Thunder Rosa tonight? Oh, she's in Puerto Rico wrestling La Rosa Negra in front of a sold-out crowd. She was all over the Puerto Rican media today. She was out there representing women's wrestling. She was at Warrior Wrestling last week and defending her title against Athena in an absolute war. So she's had 3 very physical battles on 3 separate occasions, 3 separate promotions just this week. Where was Britt? Oh, that's right. Britt was at a football game, or she was at a hockey game, or she was wherever else Tony Khan was giving her tickets for.
Yeah.
I don't buy it. I think Thunder Rosa is the face of women's wrestling currently.
Well, she is also a dentist, so.
Well, that's true. Which does a lot for the women's wrestling movement. I get it. All respect to her as a medical professional, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah, front row is not impressed.
I am not impressed.
Yeah. I do want to give a shout out to Guido's daughter, Ruthie. She looked awesome. And I'm always happy to see young girls get into wrestling.
Yes. Keep it up, Ruthie. Yeah. Keep it up.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I believe Ruthie said that her new favorite is the bunny because of the mask.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. And, Ruthie, I like your style.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Ashley. Ashley says women's teeth matter. Yes, but they don't win titles. So I did want to ask you guys about some other stuff that we saw in AEW this week. I'm not a big fan of some of the gimmicky matches, but Punk's promo with him sitting pipe bomb style with the box, I thought it was so well done. And the reveal of the dog collar match, like, I'm not a fan of that style of match, but he was referencing stuff that was so historical, like it made so much sense the way he connected the dots.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. My only nitpick is when he went to bite the chain, you could tell like he went to do it, and then the moment he bit the chain, he was like, I shouldn't have done that. That was stupid. And I looked at that. I was like, that was silly. Why did he do that? That's my only nitpick. But yeah, other than that, that promo was just straight fire.
Yeah, especially the way they tied in Greg the Hammer Valentine to the Valentine's Day kind of thing. I love how they did that. Love how he did that. Yeah.
He's still in a car laughing somewhere.
Yeah.
Busting that. But the cool thing about that was that MJF came out and left. For the first time, he was speechless. He just left.
Yes, I was extremely shocked by that. I have never seen him act that way. It's very, very interesting to me.
Well, he might have been silent, but his face spoke volumes. The look on his face, he sold that whole thing. So kudos to MJF for doing that. That was awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So as we're starting to head into, we saw Adam Cole and Adam Hangman Page, and the Battle of the Atoms is becoming interesting. And Hangman Page, he's much bigger than Cole.
Yeah.
And Hangman Page he isn't Wardlow big, but he's still a big dude.
Right.
So it's going to be very interesting to see this matchup because Cole is definitely better on the mic. He is definitely a better storyteller when it comes to promos. But Hangman is so good, and he's had these battles to defend his title that make me believe in him as a champion. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Cole's gonna get the title at Revolution?
I don't know. I don't think so yet. I don't think Hangman's time is over yet. I kind of feel like Hangman's title reign has been very underrated just because so much other stuff is going on that, like, every time Hangman has an amazing match, there's always something else in the show that people are talking about the next day. So I think his time's not over yet. He needs to keep it for a little bit longer.
I'm going to go the other way. I think Adam Cole's going to take the belt off of him this time. Because I've been hearing, even though Hangman has had some wars defending that title, I still think that if Adam Cole has the belt, I think he'll move the needle a lot more than Hangman Adam Page. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and I do have to Jeremiah versus Adam Cole, Battle of the Dad Bods. There was actually a sign during Dynamite. Yeah. Adam Cole is a dad bod. And I was like, oh. I wish I had his physique. Like, he's much better in shape than I am, so I'm not going to say anything.
And then Elder said, "What's a dad bod?"
I think Adam Cole was a bigger star, obviously. His success in Ring of Honor and NXT and now in AEW, he is a bigger name than Hangman Page. But on the other side of that, Hangman is an AEW original. He's one of those guys that the fans are way behind. If you listen to the crowd react, they were behind Hangman. They weren't behind Cole.
Yeah.
So he still has them, even though you have a big star like Cole come in from the outside, and people are excited to hear from him. I don't think that Cole has taken the fans away from Hangman.
I don't think so either.
Right.
So going into, and I know, Tony, you had a listing of the matches that were advertised already for Revolution. we talked about the dog collar match. We talked about the women's title match. The fourth match I don't think we've talked about yet is the match for the shot at the TNT Championship, and that's Wardlow, Keith Lee, and Powerhouse Hobbs. Probably three of the biggest guys, save maybe Lance Archer. Like that's gonna be a war of the Titans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We were just talking the other day when Keith Lee was signed about who we'd like to see Keith Lee match up against, and there's two of the ones we named right there, Wardlow and Powerhouse Hobbs, and of course the other ones we named, Lance Archer and Miro, wherever Miro is right now. But when Miro comes back, I mean, I'd love to see Keith Lee against him. But that match that was announced is going to be a good match. We're going to get to see Keith Lee in his element right there. So I'm ready to see that.
Well,
Yeah,
let me ask you guys this. So we've got. It seems like Tony Khan just keeps bringing in surprise after surprise after surprise, right? At some point, he's replaced 80% of the top roster with WWE guys.
Right.
And at a certain point, you're going to have to let people go or not renew their contracts because you have too big a roster.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
The first year to a year and a half of AEW, it was a team mentality. If this is a family, we're building something special. And I feel like as a fan, I'm excited to see guys like Keith Lee, and there's other rumored people that may be in the mix coming up, from unsigned talent. I worry about getting visibility for some of the newer stars, and there not being a continuing spotlight on like your Jungle Boys and even Sammy Guevara. He's in a good position right now, but how long before he gets pushed out?
Right.
it's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I think they definitely just need to focus on making sure people don't get lost in the shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
If that means add another show,
Well,
then
me and Chris were talking about this a few days ago. We were talking about how there's so much talent in AEW, and they're going to have to add another show to basically keep up with, because not everybody watches Dark and Elevation on YouTube. And but what I suggested is not just to have another show, but actually add an hour to Rampage.
yeah,
Make Rampage a 2-hour show, change the time slot, because who wants to stay up to midnight watching wrestling on a Friday? I say pull the trigger and have one of the shows go up against Raw or SmackDown, move up the time slot, Rampage, to let it go head to head with SmackDown.
The only thing
That's
I could
what I
foresee is that being an issue is that it's taped after Dynamite. So now you're looking at having a crowd watch Dark for an hour, Dynamite for 2 hours, and
yeah,
then Rampage for 2 more hours. It's too much.
yeah. But then if they're looking to expand, make Rampage a separate touring show.
Yes.
Don't just record it after Dynamite.
Yeah.
Raw and SmackDown are separate live shows. Why can't Dynamite and Rampage be separate live
They
shows?
could put Dark on the Dynamite tour, put Elevation on the Rampage tour.
Yeah.
That way it's 3 hours each.
Well, they taped Dark in Florida, right?
Dark is filmed at Universal right now.
So that's good. They're good. They film those on Saturdays once a month or whatever, once every other month. I don't know what the schedule is, but they film a lot of matches on each outing.
Yeah.
Right now, if you're a talent on Dynamite and they record Dynamite and Rampage, then you actually get to go home for a couple days. If Rampage is live on Friday nights, that means there's extra travel and you're away from your family more. And I think that's going to put more wear and tear on the performers. So that's not our concern, but like at the same time, someone's got to think about that stuff,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because there's been some times when they've had live Rampages, and we know it's a struggle for some people. It adds wear and tear. Every additional city you have to travel to, it definitely has an effect. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited for Revolution. It's going to be good. I think it's the 6th, right?
Yep, March 6th.
Yeah.
And that's right after the Mission Pro show on Saturday night, No Debes Jugar, which is, man, that's going to be a cool show. We're going to do a full preview show of that next week. We've been touching on it a little bit here and there. But I think right now that main event, or at least the championship match, is La Rosa Negra and Jasmine Allure and Holiday for a triple threat, which, yes, please.
Yeah.
So that's going to be. We have a few minutes left. Tony, you want to just give us some highlights of the Elimination Chamber? I don't typically watch it due to, my own personal reasons for not watching the Saudi shows, but there was a lot of stuff that happened today that's going to have a big impact on the WrestleMania card.
Right. Yeah, I actually watched it today after Busted Open, of course. Here's some highlights that happened. Roman Reigns and Goldberg. Roman Reigns retained his championship, had Goldberg in a front chokehold.
Guillotine.
Yes, guillotine chokehold. And Goldberg got to the ropes 2 to 3 different times. The referee did not rope break the hold. They came off the ropes. Roman still had that move locked in, and Goldberg passed out. And that's how Roman retained his championship, which I don't understand that at all. But in my opinion, when you do a move and you go to the ropes, that means a rope break, and you have a count of 5 to stop the move. So I don't understand that. But anyway, Bianca Belair won the Women's Elimination Chamber match, and she will face Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, who also retained her championship today against Lita. And Lita had you believing today that she was actually going to win, because there was a couple of near falls in that. Lita looked awesome out there today.
So that's interesting to me, because now you've got Becky versus Bianca, right?
Mhm.
Those two women are the only two women to not only main event but win their matches at WrestleMania.
Right.
Bianca beat Sasha, and Becky beat Charlotte and Ronda. So
Yeah.
you've got the two women who have headlined Mania and won facing each other.
Yeah. Also, I think this was the highlight of the day for me. Brock won convincingly. He won the Men's Elimination Chamber and also became the WWE Champion, because Bobby Lashley was in his pod, didn't even get out of his pod. Seth Rollins powerbombed Austin Theory into his pod, and Bobby Lashley looked like he got legit injured, and they took him out of the match, and he was in concussion protocol, so therefore he didn't return to the match. And Brock Lesnar just destroyed everyone in that. He did a F5 from the top of the Elimination Chamber, F5 to Austin Theory to the metal part of the floor, and then went in there in the ring and pinned him and became the champion. So now it's title versus title at WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. So,
Wow.
And that was pretty much the highlights of today.
So we'll talk about it more in the weeks upcoming. But to me, a champion versus champion match is weird, because you've got Raw and SmackDown on two different networks, and you assume that the network executives want to keep a title on each show, right? So if you're going to champion versus champion, are they unifying it? Or are they doing like a Becky two-belt situation where one person's going to hold both titles and go back and forth, which kind of gets wonky at a certain point?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I don't see them unifying it, just because of those reasons for separate networks. It would be different like on AEW, where both networks they are on are owned by the same parent company. That's not the case with WWE on USA and Fox. So yeah, I'm not sure how they're gonna play it out there.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for giving us the updates. It sounds like at least it was a good event, and
it was a good show.
A lot of stuff going into WrestleMania. I did want to mention, give another thank you to Taeler Hendrix, who was on the show last week. We had a really fun chat with her. Go check it out on the YouTube channel if you haven't seen it yet. And we recorded a really fun interview with Viva Van on Thursday, which will premiere on our channel tomorrow night around 6 or 7 o'clock. Keep an eye on the notifications and our social, and we'll give you an update. But that was a good one too. Viva's been a big part of Pro. She's she's all over the place, making a big name for herself. So you're going to see her in bigger and better spots as the year goes on.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And last but not least, shout out to everybody at Mission Pro for giving us so much support. Take a look at Thunder Rosa's Patreon. She's got a lot of exciting stuff. She's communicating with her with her fan base there a lot. So if you're in there, she's posting pictures and unedited vlogs and updates on travel, and just she's in there all the time. So for just a few bucks a month, you can get in the basic tier, but as the tiers go up, there's all kinds of added content, as most Patreons do. So give that a look. Anything else we missed before we wrap for the evening?
Yeah. Impact Wrestling has a pay-per-view tonight, No Surrender, and it's coming on. I think it's coming on right now. As soon as we sign off, I think it's going to be on.
Oh man!
Yeah. So we're
Like
the pre-show for Impact Wrestling.
Like we said earlier, there's just too much stuff going on. You can't even cover it all.
And Guido just said that GCW is starting right now as well. So,
oh goodness.
yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Maybe I'll add a pay-per-view to the list tonight.
Yeah. Right.
Man, all right. Well, let me tell everybody where you can find everybody on the socials. Deb?
I'm at That's So Debonair on the Twitter machine. And I just want to give a shout out to Chris. Love you.
I am at Tony Justice AJFA on Twitter and Instagram. And if you're a Metallica fan, which I know you are, you know what that means.
Well, I am PW Front Row pretty much across all the socials, and I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Front Row. I do love you too.
I want to give a shout out to everybody else. What's up, y'all?
You can find us on Twitter at Nation's Corner and across all the other socials at The Nation's Corner. And that is all we have for you this week. So take a look at our show tomorrow night. Keep an eye out for the Viva Van interview, and we'll see y'all again next week. Thanks.